and welcome to a new episode of Beyond the Pages. And today we have Abby. Abby, welcome.
Hey, I'm so excited to chat today about books.
Me too.
Yeah.
So let's dive straight in. Can you tell us a bit about you?
So, yeah, I'm a little indie author in Australia. I'm actually from England originally, though. So I grew up in England, moved over here in my when I was 20, and I have never gone back since. So I love the sun over here and the beaches and things. That's more me, I think. But yeah, I've loved books since I was a kid as well. So big avid fantasy reader. Um, and I always wanted to write, but it just never seemed to work out. You know, you write little stories when you're a kid and in your teens, and then they get chucked
Mm.
aside and forgotten about. And then with this series, I sort of just felt like, you know, I might actually be able to do something here, and gave it a go. And yeah, it's how I
Here
started
we
my
are.
author journey. But yeah, through the day, I'm a teacher as well in primary school. So
Oh,
quite busy. Yeah.
well, that's nice.
Mm.
It's nice to have somebody from Europe. I'm original from the Netherlands, so
Yeah. Yeah.
bit close by.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I came here or for love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I never want to go back either.
No, yeah, I love it here. No, it's the same. I met my husband over here and then just stayed and loved the country, started family and whatnot. And it was like, I could never imagine. I like going back to visit, but I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine not being in Australia now. It's
no,
definitely home.
well, that's a good thing. So, about your series, tell us a bit more about them.
So it's called The Crystal Dynasty. It's going to be a trilogy.
Mhm.
I'm almost nearly finished book three, so that's good. But it doesn't want to end. It's one of those where you just keep writing, and it's
Mm.
like I'm near the end. I'm right there. It's so close, but so far at the same time. It's funny, but it's an epic fantasy series.
Okay.
Got magic. It's family orientated, but with it's sort of it's a family that's divided kind of thing. So you've got the good side of the family and the bad side of the family, and it's multiple point of views. One is which is actually largely the female villain as well, so you actually get inside her head and see why she's doing what she's doing, and why she's stole the throne and destroyed her family really for all the
Okay.
power. So it's interesting.
That sounds interesting because most of the time the villain is most of the time a male.
Yeah.
So it's actually interesting you chose the female
Yeah.
villain. Was there a reason for that?
It was when the story came to me, she was like just that prominent person in my head. And
Mhm.
as she evolved, it was like, yeah, she seems to be more of a villain. And I thought it's going to be fun to run with. And I thought it'd be good to have her point of view because book one's out, like a lot of the readers are saying, she's that character that you love to hate. Like you like her, but you don't like her at the same time, and you don't agree what she's doing, but because you've got her point of view, you can see why she's doing it, and you can sort of side with her sometimes, but her methods are not something you would agree with. Like, you can see why she's angry and she's done what she's done, but she's gone the wrong way about it.
So when did you release book one?
Book one came out last year, so it
Okay.
came out June last year, so it's almost been out a year. So, and then book two's coming out next month in April. But it's one of those things where I've been working on it for a long time, because I've
Mhm.
sort of write sporadically and everywhere at once. So I had a lot of the beginning and a lot of the middle and a lot of the end there, and I had to just sort of write from the beginning again to fill it. So in a way, a lot of book two and three was already there. It just needed fleshing out, and it was meant to be one book, and then it
Mm.
sort of got bigger. And now it's like, yeah, the trilogy should be it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this series is it like really a series you need to read first part one, then
Yeah.
two, and then three?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they all just continue on from each other. So if you jumped into book two, you you wouldn't fully get, you could kind of get away with two in the sense because it jumps forward 8 years, but you
Mm.
wouldn't really have that backstory to know what was
And
happening.
yeah,
But
and
yeah,
who's
so you
who?
really
Mm.
need to read book one because you'd pick up quickly, you know, who the characters were, but you wouldn't really understand the backstory of how we got there. So definitely got to read one, two, three.
Okay. At least we have something to do then,
Yes, yes,
You were talking a bit about your writing, so it's a bit
yeah.
sporadic. So you don't really have like, okay, I'm going to sit down and this is my, or do you really have like a kind of writing routine?
It's well, the book all just it's all just sort of sits in my head, like the whole thing's there, and I know how it should be going, but I find as well that the characters do what they want. So
Hmm.
I have an idea, I know how it should end, but it's how you get there is that kind of thing. Because I've already had a few characters just do what they want, and I'm like, oh, I've had to rewrite bits because they're in a different place now, but it's good. But no, it's more of, I'm more of a pantser, but my routine, when I sit down to write, I just write, but I don't sort of get writer's block in the sense of I can't write. It's more of a, I'm not quite sure where this character is going in a minute. I'm going to jump to a different character. And I think because it's multiple point of views, I can do that. So, because they all merge and they're all sort of following the same timeline. So they're
Okay.
in, I can sort of jump from character to character and then it makes sense because I'm like, oh, so this character's done this. So this one needs to do this for them
Hmm.
to all to intertwine and meet. Yeah.
And I think it's easier to actually have the writer's block, like if you would have or struggle with writer's block, like
Yeah. Yeah.
moving on
Yeah.
is actually a smart thing to do.
It is. So I just change point of view sometimes and follow a different character for a bit and then they'll get to where they need to be and then I can go, oh yeah, and everything just lines up and I can go, yeah, so if they're here now, this character needs to eventually get here. How can we do that? And the characters tend to, yeah, surprise me a bit, but it's good.
They always do, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. It's like, oh, this is happening. Oh, cool. Let's follow and see what happens next.
So you
Mm.
have this really standout villain.
Yes.
What about the heroes?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's quite strong. It is strong female characters in here. And it's the old queen versus the new queen in a way. So the
Mhm.
old queen's trying to find her children because they went into hiding with her father. He like took them away before anything could happen to them and keep them safe. So she's like going against the villain queen and trying to, get her throne back and get her family back and everything. So it's that fun little game of two female queens trying to outdo the other one sort of thing. And the protagonist, is she's lovely, Cecilia, and she's a bit quieter in book one, but then as book two gets on, you sort of see
Yeah.
her become more stronger, and she's like, no, we've got to do this and
Okay.
get the kingdom back, and it's fun to watch them grow and have two females, I think, like going for the throne.
Yeah. But can
Mm,
work pretty well.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
like always that good versus evil kind of
yeah,
thing. And
yeah,
like having that development going, it's always a good thing to see, especially when they start off like
yeah,
weaker than
yeah,
how they are
yeah,
developing into book two, really.
yeah. Because for book one, it's very much the villain Eleanor comes in, just surprises them all and takes the throne, and then the protagonist Cecilia is sort of a bit, oh gosh,
Yeah.
don't know what's happening, and I'm lost, and my family's gone, and don't know what to do, and she goes into a bit of a depression type thing because she thinks she's lost it all. But then, yeah, book two, she's like, no, I'll get my head in the game now. I'm gonna come back stronger, and yeah, and you see her really start fighting, which is lovely, and try and get everything back. Mm.
And if you could choose your favorite character, do you have one or
I I love them all in a way, but I think probably George, who is Cecilia's dad, who like takes the kids into hiding. He's probably my favorite because he's quite popular with the readers because he's like that lovable grandpa that you want as your own, and he's just a lovely person, and it's like you could totally see yourself hanging out with him and him being like the loving granddad who's super supportive and fun, but then also like the protector kind of thing, and he's got magic, and so you'd be safe with him if you were in that world lost. But he's very much one of my favorite characters.
It's funny. I was talking to another author the other day, and she is writing more high fantasy than
Yeah.
epic. But like she has this really strong female character, but then her favorite character is the male character
Yeah.
as well.
I know,
Um,
it's funny.
and would you say like when you write, and most authors do that they have like parts of themselves scattered around in different characters. Is it with
Yeah.
you as well?
Yeah, I can see certain traits in certain characters of myself, and then especially like because Cecilia's a mum, and then there's certain aspects the way I've written her, how you would feel as a parent, and she's got those kind of traits. And then there's Ava as well, who's one of the kids, and she's got her love of books and things, like I do. So there's like little bits of me in, I think, in each of them in a way, but yeah, and it's funny to see it when you're writing. They've got their own little traits and personalities
Mm,
too, but you can
yeah,
see the little bits that have come from you.
it's funny. And inspiration behind the book, like apparently you've been writing even as a kid already, so the love
Yeah,
for reading and writing was already there.
yeah, yeah. As a kid, like I loved like the Enid Blydens and the Beatrix Potters and things, and because it was like fantasy, magical, fun little worlds and stuff. So that sort of piqued it. And then as I got older, it was more just basically I fell into the fantasy and just loved fantasy, and that was my go-to because I just love vast worlds that aren't
Mm,
real, and they can do anything because it's a magical world and nothing's set in stone because anything can happen, kind of thing. Yeah.
mm. So what was your inspiration behind these series?
Um, the inspiration's more, it's, how to describe it. So I love just magic, and I love just making things up. So the inspiration is just basically creating your own world. And I've taken from like I've loved books like Tolkien and Kate Forsyth and things because they're the way they
Mm,
create their worlds and their characters and things. So I've tried to create a world myself where it's very vivid, and as you're reading it you can see it, visualize it, kind of thing, and feel like you're in the world. So
yeah.
that's my sort of what I've tried to do. Yeah.
Did you find it hard to come up with this completely new world with rules and who can use what, especially when magic is involved? Um, how was it for you?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm a bit of a pantser. So I found when I started writing, I was doing it really the wrong way for me. So it was hard in the beginning because you read a lot of, you should plot the whole thing out. And I found when I was trying to actually plot and build the world, that's when I really struggled. But I
Mm,
found when I just let the world flow, as the books go, and because I've got the map and everything, and there's certain elements that are just in the world, but I don't touch on them until we reached the characters are there. But
Yeah.
as the characters reach it, that's when the world sort of formed, because I was in the area and in the world. So as they were moving around, the world became as it was as I was writing it. So I think for me, it's more of a, I need to, it's weird because I've got to be there in the moment in the writing for the world to come alive rather than plot it out. So I've got like snowy mountains, and I've got, the dunes and things on the map, but I hadn't really said what was in them and things. But when I got to that part in the book, then it opened up and was like, yeah, the character's here now, I can see it, kind of thing. And then I was really able to be like, yeah, this is the world, and this is what they can see and what's in it.
So were there certain aspects in your writing that you were struggling with, or like really needed to figure out how to go about it?
Yeah, so mine's, being it's epic fantasy as well, it's sort of got medieval themes to it. So that's the sort of the era you're sort of looking at. So for me, it was that sometimes it's as simple as, getting the food and the clothes right and things. But the biggest one is, and I'll be coming up to this in book 3, but it's the fighting side and making sure that, they've got the right armor on and they've got the right weapons of the time, and then how a fight scene would look and things. And because book 2 actually has a tournament in it, and that was a lot of learning on my side, because it's like, it sounded like a great idea, and then it's like, actually I've got no idea what a medieval style tournament would look like. And it was a lot of research and figuring out, what events were and how it would look, how long it would last, and how many houses would have, for nights, and is it all nights. And when you go down that rabbit hole, it's like there's a lot more than you realize, and you're like, oh, actually. But it's fun to do. But yeah, I think that writing the tournament was a big one, because there was a lot to it. And for book 3, it'll be like the big battles and actually figuring out how they should look on paper, really, to read. So it's different to watching it on a screen.
Yeah. So when you look at it, like, even though it's fantasy, still a lot of research is actually going into the books.
Because it still needs to be accurate to what your world might be made up, but what's happening in it is, people, it happens in real life as well. So, yeah.
So if you could, like, compare your book to an existing,
yes, yeah,
what would it be?
It's interesting because I've asked a few people this question, because I was curious because I was like, I've got no idea what it even is like. I've just wrote this, and I've had Tolkien in the sense of my world building, because they said it is very vivid. It's not as detailed as Tolkien's is, but which I thought was a very good thing to hear, because it's a very visual. Once you're in areas, you can really see it. And then I have been told as well, it's quite Games of Thronesy in the way it is with the violence, because it's quite, being as the villain's point of view, it does get quite dark and a bit of violence in there in her chapters, and a lot of killing, which wasn't intentional, but it's just following the characters. Yeah, but then at the same time, it's had that Princess Bride vibe, because there's quite a bit of funny stuff in there as well with other characters and things. So it's got like the humor in there as well, which is funny with so it's like a bit of everything. So it's like, it's good.
It's what I like in the story, though. Like, I think you need to have like all certain elements that actually make the story really nice, or to relate as a reader to the stories. What would you think is your favorite book of all times?
Of all times, honestly, actually, it's a kid book that I read, and it's one that my dad gave me. So it's like just one of those that I loved. But it's Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim. I don't know if you've heard that one, but it's a children's one, and it's just a cute little animal, story with the mice and the rats and things, and actually following their little story. And I thought it was so cute. I loved it as a kid, and it's just one of those that I've just never forgotten.
Like, didn't they make like a
The movie,
movie
yeah,
out
yeah,
of it?
yeah,
I vaguely can
yeah,
remember that one.
yeah,
Yeah. The movie was quite cute. Like,
yeah,
I'm not sure if I actually read it though. I think I was like a lot into Roald Dahl and
yeah, yeah,
those books, I reckon, when I was
yeah,
young. Um, yeah, but I
yeah. It
remember the
came out as the
movie.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
I'm
good
not
little
even
movie.
sure if I was still young or if I watched it with my kids when they were young.
Yeah,
Probably both, sort of. Yeah. It's fun when you look actually back and
yeah,
you're going through, oh, these were the books that actually made me fall in love with
yeah,
storytelling
yeah,
and reading and going on like that.
yeah.
So, but that's are like the small children's stories, and then
Exactly.
you jumped into the more
Yeah.
fantasy. And that was Tolkien, or would you have
Yeah, I
like,
sort of started off, with moved up a bit and went to the Royal Dahls and things, and then we had another popular author, um, J.K. So Wilson or something, a Wilson one. I can't remember her name properly, but she was very liked. But it was more teen books, that one,
okay, yeah.
and then yeah, I fell into the Harry Potters and the things like that, and but then yeah, got more into the Jordans and the Tolkiens and things as I progressed. And yeah, now I read a bit of everything though. Like I try and read a bit of everything now, all the different genres, because I think that's good to read a bit of everything as well. And
No,
mm,
I totally agree. And then sometimes
yeah,
I can find like I'm a mood reader, so
yeah,
if I don't feel something, I just
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
Um, so for yourself, like, are you a mood reader, or can you actually read whatever it's throwing your way?
I can read pretty much anything. If someone says this is good, I'll give it a go. Like I'm very much I'll try anything. But I do sometimes find if I read the same type of style too much in a row, then I do need to sort of switch it up, because I feel like you've read the same type of story in a way too many times. Yeah.
If you could give advice to any aspiring writer,
Yeah.
or people who maybe wants to try something new and try to write fantasy, what would be your advice? Um,
Yeah, mine would be to just have a go, like just pick up the pen and write basically, and because you don't have to. I think a lot of people worry what they're going to write isn't going to be good, and
mhm.
but your first draft is never good. No one ever writes a brilliant thing first draft, and you don't have to show anyone that. Like that's the beauty of it as well. You can just write it and never look at it again if you didn't want to, but you have to actually have a go and have a look at different advice, but and how to write, but you know, don't put it on a pedestal and say I have to do it this way, because everyone writes differently and everyone will do things differently. So you've got to find what works for you as a writer, and make sure it's something that you're enjoying and you want to write, because you've got to you spend so much time on it, you've got to love what you're working on as well. Nothing worse if you got to like the edits and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm hating this, because the amount of times you go over your book and you reread your own work hundreds of times. So you've got to love what you're working on.
Yes, thousands of times of
Yeah,
self edits and
yeah,
things and rewriting and
yeah,
revisions. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
The joy of writing.
Exactly. No one writes one draft and that's it. It'd be great if we'd got it right first time, but it's usually 4 or 5 times you're going through your work and second guessing yourself, and then you think it's done and then you still find spelling mistakes in the final draft. You're like, how?
Wasn't it already edited?
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny. It's I've had my son reread the final book too as well, because he's pretty good with his catching that kind of stuff, and
Okay.
he says there's nothing in there now. So I'm like, fingers crossed that means we've got there. I mean, every book has, the odd mistake in it. They're never going to be perfect, but
Like
as long as the big errors are found.
Well, that's it. Like, we're all humans, so
Yeah.
even in the most expensive, best-selling author books, I still find
I've
mistakes.
seen a lot of trad published books from massive authors, and there's a word missing or misspelt who, like the they're them ones, like there's something.
Like editors are humans
happens.
as well.
Yeah.
You
happens.
never catch 100% of. No. It's just not possible.
No.
So going from here, like book 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah.
And book 3 is getting
nearly there. Nearly there with the first draft. Then it's that vicious cycle of edits, but it's getting there. Yeah.
And is there anything else you have been working on, or things you are excited about to
There
start?
is actually, after doing like a big epic fantasy, I was like, I think my brain needs a bit more, something easier. So I've thought of doing just a fun little Christmas novella, but an Aussie themed one. I thought it would be just a nice, fun little brain break in a way, if I'm not creating a huge, massive, gigantic world with hundreds of point of views and things. That would be a fun little meet cute Christmas traditional Aussie style thing. I thought that would be fun, especially being from England. It'll be fun to write something from what I've seen.
Oh yes, and it's a bit different than
an English Christmas.
Yes, any cold, wintry Christmas.
Exactly. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to actually have a go at and do a bit of a meet cute situation and just something fun and light. Yeah. And see what happens.
Well, I can imagine that after like 3 books and especially high or epic fantasy, like the world building is so immense. That I can imagine you need a bit of a break.
At the point in writing book 3, because it's getting to that end point, it's like you're having to remember all the what happened in book 1 and 2 and all the characters, so that you're not missing anything. And my brain's sort of at that point where it's like, it needs a break because there's so much to remember. And so it'd be nice when it's done to do something a bit easier, where it's one point of view and one, just a couple of side characters and just a bit of fun.
It sounds really cute. For some reason, especially around Christmas time, I always did like those cozy reads and the cute reads, and it would be nice. So quickly back to your book series. So could you give us the titles from book 1 and book 2?
I've got them here actually, so I'll show you. So this is book 1. You can see that. So it's the Crystal Dynasty, Kingdom Divided. That's where it all begins. And then this is book 2. Sorry, get it right to the camera. But it's The Quest Begins. So book 1 sort of sets up the premise. So you're meeting the characters, the events have happened, and you're just it's bringing you into that world and letting you know what's happening and who everyone is and why things are happening. And then book 2 sort of, there's magical crystals in there that have been broken and hidden, so the wrong person can't get all the power. And then in book 2, that's when the quest begins, and the good side and the bad side are both trying to find the power so they can have all the power for themselves. So and whoever gets the crystals will, basically be in charge because they'll have all the power. So it's that, that kind of style. And then book 3 is still that, they're still fighting, trying to up on each other and then it's the ultimate thing right at the end of book 3 to see who's actually going to win, if it will be the good side or the bad side. So
any surprises there?
No, not at this stage. It should be the good side wins, but yeah, the way it's going,
you never
you
know
just
how
never
they
know.
go.
Something could go completely wrong at the end. You never know, but my plan is the good will prevail.
Well, we're very excited about it. Everybody, if you would like to read Abby's books, you can find the links under in the comments section or at our blog. There will be another little interview, a little behind the scenes with some different questions, where you can order her books as well. So book number 2 is coming out on the 24th of April.
Yes, yeah.
But you can pre-order it. So please do. Abby, thank you so much for being here. It was really nice. I love talking to you. And I'm really excited on how everything will be going. So if book 3 will roll out, please let us know and we can have another chat.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
You're very welcome. Okay, guys, buy the books. It's fantasy, okay? Epic fantasies. It will be great. Just a quick one before we end up, because you were saying that it's like a family kind of thing. So
yes,
would it be nice for like maybe younger readers to read this one as well?
No, I would say no, definitely older readers, because it can get quite violent in it as well with the villain, because you really see her actions and things, and so it's definitely it's family in the sense that it's a family fighting together, but it's definitely for the adults.
Okay. So just find a quiet corner away from the children to read the books. Okay, thank you, Abby, again.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I will see you next week with another episode of Beyond the Pages. See you then.